I really hope we get something with agency for Cold once again. As different already, Orcs. We've got Rumble first pick. Xin Zhao out the window, it seems.
Yeah, so we've seen Diana actually coming through as a ban instead of the Rumble. They take the Rumble, and OMG actually ban they leave the Xin Zhao up. So it's not obviously going to be an issue here. The Rumble's been taken. Typically seen Rumble in jungle as opposed to solo lanes. But it does mean that OMG looking to prioritize the Ezreal as well, which I really like. I think if you're dealing with the Rumble, one of the things he struggles with is champions that can just instantly move out of his ultimate, and Ezreal, one of the safer AD carries, who can mitigate that. And then we see Aki going for that Xin Zhao, which, again, you're against a fast clearing jungler in Rumble, but also one who actually has strong skirmishing power. So I like the fact that they're giving Aki some tools to contest that early game when the Diana's gone.
Again, it's his favorite champ, and it's his most played, so it makes a lot of sense here too. For WE, going to the Varus, the Renekton as well. A lot of strong meta picks just left open. And for WE, no problem. They'll take him, and they'll set themselves up a comp that wants to start rolling fast.
Feels like the priorities just completely shifted in this game 3. It's like, you know, game 1 we had the sort of compositions we saw, and then there was a tweak for game 2. Game 3 is just out the window. Both teams almost going with a fresh start, a breath of fresh air almost. And I think right now WE have great team fighting tools in that 5v5 scenario. They've got the Renekton, who's a really strong lane into pretty much anything he goes up against. And as well, the Varus into the Ezreal is a Varus favored matchup, so maybe able to apply a bit more of that early pressure that we're looking to see at Ezreal's weakest point.
And I just love in our league that we never have to talk about it being Renekton top, right? We can also talk about the potential flexibility for Shanks, that he can take that into the Sylas lane if he so chooses. Something that, you know, has done well realistically with the Executioner's calling nice and early. So I'm excited to see the fluidity of this draft when we roll through it. We are, of course, looking at supports being banned away here. I respect this from WE. The Rel had such a big impact that you definitely don't want to give it over, whether it's a different type of draft or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can see both teams ban away a couple of supports. You know, we did see the Gwen in game 1. I actually feel like you don't need to ban it in this scenario, just because having the Renekton makes it so difficult to play the Gwen. We often see it punished really hard in these early dives, and I think you're opening yourself up to that if you do take it. For now, though, OMG kind of limiting the support options to go with the Varus. There is still the Leona available. It kind of suggests to me that this is going to be the pickup for OMG, because you basically banned like every other support that's sort of in the tier 1 in terms of those melee champions. The Thresh and the Tom Kench being down as well limits the safety. So I think that one's a likely one to come through here for OMG.
And not banned away by WE, so the set just taken through. They say, fine, take the Leona, we don't care. But a good pick alongside the Ezreal that we've seen had pretty ambitious laning phase from Elkin missing in game number 1. And locked in for Colt. Okay, so standardized stuff. That means we do have a solo lane counter pick here for OMG. WN have to show their cards. We need a support. We need another solo laner. I'm just curious what Breathe wants to do. You already mentioned something like the Gwen, and I mean, that could also be picked up if we flex around the Renekton, but let's pretend that we don't know Shanks and, you know, he won't be taking Renekton mid. I feel like there are a lot of mid lanes still open.
Yeah, there's a lot of options, a lot of flexibility. Ideally, you want to see something that can flex between the two. Viego stands out to me as something that can do that, and it means you can keep the enemy team guessing, so they can't really counterpick too effectively. I really like the Braum here. I think with all those banned away, it's kind of the last standing champion, and it really denies a lot of the pressure from this Leona as well. Gwen, you know, it's out there. You're the one with the Renekton, so you're not too concerned about being punished in the top lane, but for me, I think Viego is the standout. The ability to flex between top and mid if you so need, but for the most part, it's just a strong pick for Shanks. And again, providing that AD when you have that AP jungler in the Rumble.
Great call there. So as it gets locked in, again, we have to see how WE finalize, but OMG, they've already got their jungler looking for that last solo laner. And something that we've seen kind of rising up is Volibear going into a lot of these uncertain lanes, right? Into the Gwen especially, it's been a favorite, but up in that top lane, it is coming back quite a big deal. Forget that. Let's just season 11 and Gwen taken instead by OMG. So, Orcs, run me through what OMG want to do this game, because it is a lot different to what we've seen throughout their first and second game draft.
So I think it's kind of like a flip in this one. OMG want to find that early agency with Aki. They want to be applying the pressure as soon as possible, and they want to try and stack gold onto their critical carries. Particularly, you know, the Gwen and the Ezreal can find a lot of value. And again, it's the extended fights that we saw from WE kind of getting that from OMG. If the Gwen can find value, if you can avoid the ult pressure of WE, you can come out strong. And particularly, I think it's about finding more skirmishes rather than full-on 5v5s where they're really going to excel. On the other side, though, we have a scenario where, you know, you have Renekton Rumble in your top jungle and you're up against a Gwen. I want to see this Gwen dove to oblivion. I just want to see constant reiteration of just punishing it, bullying it, and making New regret that he took this champion.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we've seen with a lot of top laners over the couple of days. The Gwen gets punished. I think you even talked about it in Game 1, Aux, is that we don't see the Gwen as higher priority with a lot of our teams because teams know how to punish it. There's been a lot of scrimming against it from what we've heard, and it feels like it can be a risky pick, but risk versus reward, as we also saw in Game 1 when Breathe picked it up. I just want to confirm that top lane as well, because I love that we are seeing, you know, Viego still being flexible throughout these lanes. We've seen it mid, we've seen it top, we've seen it jungle. Gonna wait for this car to drive through. And yeah, Breathe top with the Viego, Shanks with the Renekton mid as well. Again, just another reason why I love Renekton right now. Also has that same added flexibility.
Yeah, so a little less pressure in the top lane matchup on New, but a lot more pressure in the mid lane matchup onto Creme, and mid priority super important, particularly with something like a Rumble that clears so fast. Honestly, feel like WE coming out really confident in this one. The bot lane's in a good spot in this 2v2. The mid jungle 2v2 strong. And we actually see Breathe going for the Ignite in this top matchup.
Elk went deep for a ward. He had to flash and cleanse. Of course, cold matches that Elk won't be able to get out of this one if Abel wants to commit his own. And of course, with the stun there from the shield at Daybreak, that's just a horrible way to start for WE.
Absolute disaster. And honestly, I was talking about this bot lane 2v2. It is very WE favored. You have the Varus who should find priority. Braum completely stonewalls Leona. But this is something that can throw it in the other direction. Abel now able to reset by a couple of items. I think he got a longsword there. Elk now without summoners is a much more vulnerable target. So it really changes the dynamic of the lane. It must be frustrating to be WE's coach and you come out with this draft. You're like, yeah, I'm feeling good about this. And then Elk just burns both his summoners and dies level 1. You're like, oh, never mind.
Things change. Yeah, things change a lot. We're watching trading through the mid lane, but you're right. There needs to be a lot of attention now focused towards Elk and how he gets through this lane. We're looking at how Cold put the ward down, and it spots out Elk, I believe, walking for a deep ward all the way towards blue buff. He bided his time, but Cold just waited so patiently. So really great start here from OMG to punish Elk going that deep. And now you already talked about it within the lane. It is a good start here from Abel. I didn't see the itemization. Might be the tier. That just gets him stacking up nice and early. We'll have a look in a second. We'll just look at the runes. What? Okay, never mind. Doesn't matter. It's one apiece.
That shouldn't happen, by the way.
Ever.
Like, one of the things with Gwen is she's one of the strongest level 1 champions. I mean, okay, we don't even get time to breathe.
The Observer! Let's get it started. I know. You're not expecting it, but Jesus Christ, it's 4 kills in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's going wild, and I don't think Beishang wants to really stop. He's looking for an invade here onto Aki.
Well, okay, let's see. Level 3 versus level 3. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Shank's in a bit of trouble, but no, it doesn't matter. We get to see this one. The flash away, Shank still has his own. Ruthless Predator, not available for 3 seconds, so he didn't follow up. This game number 3 has already started off in the loosest fashion I've ever seen.
Wait, Abel's topside. He's here. He's looking to fight this.
All right, Abel, you'll never expect this. WE numbers disadvantage. Ezreal now shows up. But Abel's now moved out of lane, and you can see WE's bot are like, go. Push Cold all the way back because Abel has to walk.
Wait, what is going on, honestly? The support's the one who normally roams up, you know? Yeah. Eddie Carey obviously likes to be in lane, but apparently Abel is just, he does what he wants. And the wave is actually going to push back towards him, so in all things considered, not actually the worst roam timing, in fairness, from Abel. Actually, the level 2 Ezreal top lane roam working out for him, and he's now 2-1. We talked a little bit about the impact of Elk lacking those summoners, and we saw OMG able to capitalize. It changed the dynamic of the lane, where typically we would think that missing an Elk would have that priority, have that advantage. OMG were able to punish again, get the repeat, and get a second kill on the Ezreal, who's now picked up the call, so really investing in those stonks.
I guess, yeah, those dogs are rising. Abel so confident after getting the first free kill, and then the kill following up on Elk to abuse the summon advantage. So, 2 kills, the roam done, wave pushing in you talked about. Now the stun in the mid lane for Creme as Electro Harpoon connects and the burn coming through. Passive as well. Rumble always wins this as Arky will force the flash in the end. It's a Xin Zhao. He duels like no tomorrow. But Shanks and Beishang able to avoid away, get the push, and get the kill onto this Rumble.
And I think this shows the power of the Renekton. If you had the Viego in the... Okay, I'm going to hold that thought. We're going to see the top lane. Yeah. Typically, you know, Gwen has one of the best level 1s in the game. Being able to E, get that extra auto range, damage, and attack speed, often winning out. But it seems like a little bit of disrespect there for the level 2 that was hit. And here, similarly, level 2 hit first by OMG. Normally, we would expect the Varus to be able to hit level 2 first. But down summoners ends up getting punished for it. And OMG able to pull ahead there. As I was saying about the Renekton, you know, against your Xin Zhao, it's very hard to win mid-jungle 2v2s. You know, the Rumble alone, not often enough. You could see how both Beishang and Shanks had to flash away from the Xin Zhao, but because of the Renekton's strength, they're able to dispatch Creme there and breathe.
Oh, Ignite down again. New, he's not going to die though. He's only ticking away while in the bottom lane. Beishang comes out first. Aki now joins the play, but Winter's Bite, the concussive blows are so OP. It gets a triple stun. You said value Orcs, and value goes to WE.
Braum is just so good in these skirmishes. I mean, he's not being seen too much in the current meta. Like, he's occasionally cropping up, but when there's a good opportunity to pick him and you get those skirmishes, concussive blows, it's just so good. You can see it there. After that first kill, it just cemented the victory for WE and able to pick up 3 kills off the back of that. We had the disaster level 1 from Elk. They're able to bring it back here.
This game, I mean, it's just delivering on all accounts. We'll look at the bottom lane again because Beishang waited so patiently.
Yeah, so just really good timing for that one. And then we see Aki trying to commit here, but it's so difficult as a melee champion because the Braum applies that passive, you're committed to the play, you just get locked up, stunned down, and it ends up being 3 to that side. You can now see Beishang 2-0-2 on the Rumble in a really strong spot. And we'll look at the top lane again. You were saying you reckon Breathe is arguably the best performing top lane in the league. He is showing it in this lane matchup.
Doesn't feel arguable for me, especially after we've seen how New has just been bullied throughout the lane. The Ignite ticked down again. New had to walk back to the lane. He's down 20 CS. And we've had so much chaos here. I just want to bring our audience back to a stable state by pointing out it's a 3k gold lead for WE at 7 minutes. I mean, that is absolutely bonkers. And the bottom lane stabilized. Mid has helped out as well, punished away through Creme, as Abel now getting poked out as well. And at a CS discrepancy. Abel started 2-1 in this game. He made a roam through the freaking red buff. And now we come back to the lane and the Varus start to play out as we expect. I mean, look at top. 30 CS now, and the wave getting denied.
Yeah, I mean, this is so rough. And typically we see this punishment come for the Gwen, but Beishang really hasn't had to do anything in the top lane. You know, I was worried about this threat. I was worried about maybe the Renekton being top lane, being the matchup, but Breathe just doesn't care. He'll just solo find the advantage. 2 levels up on you now. Plate's dying, the entire wave being denied, and it's like, shit, Aki's going to pick up the Mountain Dragon. I don't think you care too much about a Mountain Dragon when you're this far ahead.
Creme in a bit of trouble here. Going to get the Culbermeek at the end of the day, but for Shanks, he's done a good number on Creme once again. You getting dove under the tier 2 turret while the minion wave continues to crash. Breathe has played a lot of Singed apparently because it's the 3rd wave he's proxied.
And the thing is, I don't know what you do. I honestly don't know what you do here if you're OMG or New in particular. Like, they're not going to take the tower, by the way. I really hope they don't take the tower. They can take the Herald for sure. But if you just keep this lane state in this situation, OMG are in such a rough spot. We do see Aki heading over the top side to try and provide some cover so New can actually walk up, but he is missed. So 72 to 28 CS right now. It's an absolute disaster. Look at the gold. New's got like half as much gold as Breed. It's so doomed.
It's 2k almost, right? Beishang invading this top side, absolutely his. Aki lucky to get the red buff with the way the game's progressing, and at least Aki's up here for now, right? He can make his way through and try and mitigate some of that disaster, but the rest of WE benefiting off the fact that Aki needs to be up there, that he needs to pay homage to the top side, that he was spotted on a ward. So we've seen mid trading well. We see bot getting back in action, getting plating. I mean, the way the game started, I'm surprised now that Abel is 400 gold down.
Yeah, I mean, this is how we expected the lane to go. There was that massive hiccup, but then Beishang managed to re-establish the bot lane, and now you have the priority of the Ezreal, obviously able to push the wave in and offer that threat. And Cold, because WE's bot lane is stabilized and Elka's are summoners again, you can't look for those all-ins. It's just too risky. So seeing plates fall on the bot side, plates fall on the top side, it's kind of a disaster. And Aki, on this Xin Zhao, you want to be proactive, you want to make things happen. He's kind of just trying to put out fires across the map, but, you know, he's not really able to do much to do so. It's like he's got, you know, a watering can and there's an inferno there.
Yeah, it's like, how do you put out a fire with a sprinkler, right? You know, a big booming house fire. One that is only going to blossom into something greater. Now, OMG got the first dragon, but I want to point out that we still have a Herald for Beishang. And we know that Herald's so good for pushing tempo in an already tempo-based game for WE. And there's so many lanes to put this. You can go mid, you can go bot. You said leaving top turret there is just great, and I agree. Leaving the lane as it is for New so he suffers like a schoolyard bullying, continuously pulling the underwear over someone's head, giving an atomic wedgie. As those options, as I was saying, coming back to it, I mean, Beishang has so many.
Yeah, I actually honestly would really like to see continue the bullying, the atomic wedgie, both bot lane and top lane, and throw it down mid. You get a couple of plates, put the pressure down. The second Herald could then be used to secure that mid lane tower. But I actually feel like if you keep the laning phase extended, it really would be favored for WE. I think they are going to throw down the Herald in the bot lane, although potentially, I don't think they actually need it here.
They don't. I mean, Beishang just coming in melee, he's going to try and overheat so he gets the attack speed, pushes down the turret so much faster. Abel and Cold looking for a bit of pressure to fend off and engage, try and threaten, pretending that Aki is nearby. I'm not sure if he was spot on a ward, as WE don't have too many in the river for now, but just waiting for the next wave. Again, those options still there. Turret's just going to go down. Beishang helped to push. Gold lead now at a firm 5k. And inner turret's under threat. Oh my god.
Yeah, and I mean, top lane still going horrifically wrong. Creme can't really do anything for mid lane against the Renekton. You're kind of trapped in that lane, just trying to deal with him now. You see Aki looking up towards the top side, trying to find a window, but he will be spotted on a ward.
I wonder if Breathe can 1v2 it. Is a Xin Zhao, but the low HP bar of New makes me wonder. He doesn't have too much healing apart from the Doran's Blade. And it's still almost a 50 CS. He's going in. There's the Heartbreak. It doesn't matter. It's reset time. And it's snip for snip. With the W down, Aki going to be in a bit of trouble. It flashes away WE, bringing in Shanks. And this is the big guns as well. The flash over from the Heartbreak steal. But he's stunned up. Creme has gone too deep. And Shanks is going to take him. Breathe even gets the kill. It's going even worse. Abscond duck forces the flash. And this is why Breathe never even broke a sweat.
I mean, there's the decision. You try and gank the top lane where Breathe is so far ahead. He starts getting resets, but we're seeing an engage.
Now he's dead. Now that's good. For OMG, they punish him because he went a little bit too deep. Shanks has the flash as well. They burned another teleport, but that means mid for sure is going down. So even though OMG have a good response, we just look at WE still taking everything on the map.
Yeah, it's like you lost out on the top lane play, but you did get that big shutdown. But then it's like you've lost bot lane tier 1, you've lost mid lane tier 1. We're at 14 plates right now in favor of WE. 14 plates taken and 0 for OMG. And there's still time. There's still a minute left. If Breathe, he's TPing top, he wants that last plate. It's clinical. That's the only way I can describe it. There was that little mistake with Breathe going down for the most part, dominating these team fights. And that's the problem. You try and fight the Viego, but he very quickly kills New. He gets the reset, and it's a Gwen. It's a broken champion. So you go from being a broken champion to stealing another broken champion. And I know New's behind, but just the power of that kit, definitely valuable in your hands, then able to find the resets there. And we'll get that replay. So, you know, Aki's trying to fish for it. He wants to keep New safe, but the ult ignite combo coming out just too much, and then the resets start coming in. And Breathe able to navigate this well, able to buy some time here, use the Heartbreak again to gain some distance, and that allows Shanks to get in. And Creme just doesn't quite have the damage to get the kill onto Breathe. The invisibility coming up clutch there, and then Shanks in these extended fights so good as well. And
it's happening again, but this time OMG have brought 3 people. Breathe in a bit of trouble. Heartbreak is there, but New finally gets something back. And I have to say that Cold is trying his hardest to make this game better for OMG.
Yeah, he is doing a lot of work to try and make this happen, roaming about 100% kill participation, and it's good. They are shutting down Breathe. They are getting some gold back in return.
Oh, no. Well, with one positive, there's always a negative for OMG, isn't there? I personally wouldn't be able to mentally recover from that, right? But, you know, that's why I'm not a pro player, and Aki is, and hopefully he will be able to stay headstrong, but it's just frustrating. You know, it feels like every time, and I know that's just a red buff, but we've seen it consistently, as you said. Every time something goes good for OMG, something goes better for WE, and now the last plate wasn't taken by WE. They only managed to get the 14, but they are going to get that final tier 1 tower. In the meantime, Beishang just picked up the Herald, so compounding that advantage, 7,000 gold lead now, and it really feels like the game is just falling out of control for OMG. That's why I like that OMG are trying to make a play towards the brush, right? Abuse the lack of vision for WE towards the river for now. But WE have no reason to walk down there. Dragon's not up for another 3 minutes. The wave in a fine place that they can walk through the lane itself. Missing now makes the move once Beishang's here, once Shanks was there as well, alongside of Elk. So it feels like for this game, WE not making any unnecessary risks. They're just still farming up, using this advantage that they have. Breathe almost towards his Divine Sunderer as well. And that's going to be the story here for WE. Second items picked up before the chance of a first onto Creme, a first onto New in the top lane. That's how it feels like this game is going, and that OMG won't be able to fight, if ever, for another 20 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, they do have scaling elements from their team, but there's so much engaged potential from WE with the Chains of Corruptions and just throwing down the Equalizer. Honestly, it's doing so much damage now. That can be enough just to zone them off. So WE seem pretty comfortable and just being able to push their advantage. And I like that they're not slowing down. They're not giving that window for the Ezreal to hit his spikes, for the Gwen to get back in the game. They're continuing that momentum, and you can see the pings come down mid. 4 members strong. Herald available. They're taking this tier 2.
Just going to force them out. Look at where Arky is because of all the attention in top lane. They're like, well, we got to stop Breathe once again, but it doesn't matter. Herald here with half a HP of turret. It shouldn't get the kill, but it'll be very close to pushing it down. And actually, prove me wrong, inner turret goes down just like that. Herald won't be able to get a charge towards the mid-inhib turret, but it draws all of OMG there in case WE push it again.
Yeah, forces them to contract. Very concerned about the Herald getting a second charge, and OMG trying their best to sort of hold on and slow the pressure. But now with that mid tier 2 down, you can see the vision line instantly pushed up by WE. And now whenever OMG want to rotate, they have to take such a safe route through their base, and it allows WE to rotate faster, and they can now move to this wave being pushed in by Shanks and apply the pressure in the top lane. They won't be able to... Oh, looking for a fight here.
Equalizer. I mean, Cold has to go in at this point. Under turret makes the better move, but Shanks is tanking up, doing such good work. Is missing the same. Coming around the side. Look at Breathe in the backline. A bit over-ambitious, but Elk almost finishes it off as well. That's a good time for OMG, despite WE still going for the dive.
Yeah, WE going a bit too far there. They made the right decisions in terms of the macro sense. Good vision setup, good move across, but the engage was ambitious. The only one really the ult was connecting with was Cold, and he's just a bit too tanky. He has a stopwatch. And I think as well, with the turret so close, you can see instantly here. So the ult comes down, instantly able to get out of it, the value of the Ezreal. And then they look for the Leona, but it's a very nice Zenith Blade to buffer the knockup from the Braum. The stopwatch buys all the time, and as much as we see Cold go down, Breathe is under tower. Shanks is a little bit too close. And this is what we need from OMG. You need to take those full 5v5s and look for mistakes from WE. They're starting to pick up some more shutdowns. They're starting to get some more gold coming in the pockets. They are feeling more comfortable. And once more, a critical thing is that they picked up an early dragon. So that soul win condition has been pushed back.
That's right. Gives them time on the board to pick up some of those items. And people might be sitting at home wondering why we're talking about OMG in with a chance in this game. Let's just remember from what we've seen, WE over pushing a little bit there means that there is opportunity for OMG to slow the game down. Upon the point that you mentioned with the first dragon picked up by OMG when all things were going wrong, it does mean that the Gwen has a chance of getting 2, 3 items. You know, Xin Zhao as well there. First item for Creme needs to be picked up. I cannot say that enough. He's really struggled this game as well against Shanks on the Renekton through the mid lane, and new good timing there of the Hallowing Mist. WE move to the bottom lane, going to push yet another turret here while Breathe sits alone in the top side with TP as well. And WE know that OMG have to give this away.
I just love the movements from WE. They, you know, apply the pressure in lanes, they move through the jungle quickly, and then just overload a lane with several members able to take the towers. And the pace hasn't really stopped. There have been that hiccup, obviously, around that top lane tier 2, but they don't let that set them back, and they just re-establish control, look to push up again, and they know this game isn't going to be as comfortable if they let it go later on. The gold lead that they amassed isn't going to be as relevant if the game goes, you know, 30, 40 minutes. And on top of that, OMG have some strong scaling elements, so they want this one to be closed out as soon as possible. This tier 2 top is going to be picked up pretty easily. Equalizer is going to go down, but I don't think they'll get any kills. It's just warding them away. I think the critical thing is, though, if you're getting all tier 2 towers before 20 minutes, it's a very good omen for closing the game out, because when you do pick up the Baron, you're just going to be able to straight away target those inhibitor towers and crack open the base.
And that's right. Like, it might not look like the quickest Baron, but you have a Blade of the Ruin King Divine Sundra, Viego. You have Rumble, who's pretty fast himself, could just equalize it down because it's such a short cooldown. And even Varus, with his simple poke damage, can add quite a lot to that. So we'll be looking out for that as WE have made a quick reset at the 20-minute mark. They're moving back onto the map and setting up vision control around this objective. His Dragon's not up for another 3 minutes 20. Ocean Soul, 2 Dragons time. Something that they can try lure OMG into, because we know that the all-in from WE is just brand. You already talked about it in Pick and Ban Orcs, and so rightly so with the Renekton, the Rumble. At this point, when they are so far ahead, when they're doing so well in this game, Equalizer followed up by the stun lockdown and quick burst damage. And with Breathe as well, right? It's so easy for WE to lock down a couple of targets, make the picks, and get a free objective anyway.
And that's why losing these tier 2 towers is so threatening. Because if you think of, you know, towers as a relatively safe haven, obviously we saw OMG able to defend around the top tier 2 earlier in the game. The distance from the Baron to your safe haven is such a long distance, because your tier 2s are down. So let's say the vision has been cleared out, WE's pushed up. You have to walk so far through the fog of war. Every bush you face check, it could be an engage from WE, and it makes it very difficult. This is why OMG are bringing 5 members grouped up and taking this opportunity while Shanks is pushing top and while Breathe is pushing bot lane to contest the vision. The problem is those waves will get pushed in, those solo laners will collapse, and that's when WE will push the vision back forwards, and OMG will have to traverse such a long distance to try and contest the Baron. And that's where the engage from WE can look to come in.
And that's why those flank wards are huge, right? Just to interject quickly, you look at where WE put vision up towards where Sylas just passed here on Creme. Those TPs that are still available for Breathe and Shanks are going to be quite massive.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. You can't have the same luxury, because if the Baron's being started, you can't check every brush. You can't make sure they're on flank wards.
Yep.
You can't go as slowly. And it makes it so dangerous. And
Winter's Bite. You get yourself the concussive blows. Creme flashes over the wall. He'll get out, but the summoner now down. He has to reset. He has TP. But you again look at the vision on the map. There's nowhere to TP to.
Yeah, and they'll go for the reset. But again, WE pushing the wave forwards, intercepting this mid wave early, having that vision control. And OMG, they can't really face check it. So they're trying to contest mid priority. But again, that still potentially opens them up for an engage. And WE are just playing bait with this Baron repeatedly.
I love it. They don't care. Cold walking through, but a little bit too far. No, the answer not yet, as Aki, he's actually face forward into the whole of WE. Abel and Cold managed to get out after the equalizer, but it's 5 versus 4. Going forward, Cold wants to set it up. Creme, what's he going to steal away with a hijack here as Breathe has already joined the fight? He's got a reset. The Zenith Blade over the wall won't connect, but it doesn't need to. WE have taken 2 apart, and now this time it's Baron for real.
Yeah, with the jungler down, no real risk of this being stolen, but I think OMG know they need to fight this. If they give this one up, the game is probably just over. They're looking to contest. They still have their 3 stronger members here, and the Ezreal is in a powerful spot to land some poke.
But Elf almost has the Chains of Corruption. If they get locked down, it's definitely over. New putting up the Hallowing Mist, but they go straight onto the backline on Creme, who buys time. Half health, though, as they get a good snip, but New now has to disengage. The Chains of Corruption connects so easily as Abel burns double Summoner to get out of there. But the Heartbreaker, the follow-up, the movement speed, the Equalizer, there's no getting away from World Elite.
Just great engage coming out from WE. They don't let OMG really contest it. They find the end. Breathe still going, actually, on the Ezreal.
He's so huge. I mean, he's going to take down Cold as well at this point. He just came back to life, but unfortunate as he is, Breathe gets another reset for Team WE. Correction there, no longer called World Elite, but hey, this game from them has really been one of the elite.
Absolutely. 10,000 gold lead now. This is going to head back to the Baron, and it's like Aki's the only one up to contest. No vision in the area. They're trying to TP in, but I feel like this might just end up in more deaths for OMG. Aki really needing a miracle steal. And actually, WE make the decision. Let's back away. We don't need to do this Baron. We don't need to even give an inkling of a coin flip in this scenario because they can just recall. They can spend that money. They are so far ahead right now. But this does give a window for OMG to potentially look for this dragon. Denying this would make that soul win condition a fair amount further away. So I like this call, but they have to be very fast. And I think it's starting to get cold feet already.
Yeah, they're too scared. They know that Shanks is still here. He starts moving into the fog of war. And WE, they still don't know if they've reset or not. Again, another bonus to WE having absolute vision control is that OMG have to second guess every move they make. So WE moving to the dragon, that's going to be sole point here. Now the question is, do we actually get it? Because the way this game's being played, if OMG walk into one more fight, it's inhibitor turrets, it's Baron, it's potentially the game at this point. So as OMG back away, all they're doing right now is setting up defensive vision up behind the Baron pit in their own jungle, making sure that they see every move that WE makes to lure them in, to bait them in, and try and find that final moment.
Yeah, and at this point, Cold has to try and look for creative ward placement. You can see that one just next to the mid lane, next to the Raptor camp. He's gone for some, not in the Baron pit, but along the edge of it. And is trying to just find any ward that doesn't get swept by, like, the traditional sweeping path. You can see WE moving around with a sweeper in the jungle here. But because there are some great wards placed down quite deep by Cold, they have good vision onto the Baron.
Oh, they're on top of Breed though. Equalizer on the back end, looking for the top laner caught out. OMG grouping up. Breed knocked up. Gonna die before he can do anything. But Shanks now into the middle. Gets the Hysterics Gauge Shield. Spins one more time. But missing shoved on in. OMG can win this fight quite easily. Absconded Duck Creme takes another one down. WE caught out on the rotation and OMG showing this game ain't over.
Still a little bit risky going for the Baron with this Varus poke, but they're able to find the team fight. The coordinated engage from WE isn't there, and we see Breed, this fed Viego, caught out. OMG able to get the value in the extended fight. Now, you have to be so careful here. Smite still up for WE. And the Varus, they're looking to engage.
He's stolen Chains of Corruption as well. Elk kites back though. Beishang buying time as they get the kill onto him as well. But OMG, you talked about the health bars. I mean, they don't want to take a second turn with Elk. He'll one-shot 3 out of those 4 remaining members.
Yes, they back off. It is definitely nice to get that big gold influx. We saw them about 10,000 gold down. It's just under 8,000 now, so it helps. The game definitely not necessarily in their favor now. We see Breed caught on this rotation here, and really, he's a big driving factor in the extended fight for WE. When we see the initial ults come down, we want to kill, we want to reset for Breed. Here, he's used his ult and his stopwatch defensively, and it just gets instantly taken out. And this is where Abel gets a ton of value. Great ult across the team fight, firing off Mystic shots consistently, and that sustained damage we're seeing wins out in this scenario. And I think it kind of shows you what we were talking about earlier. OMG can still win fights if the stars align. This gold deficit makes it very difficult, but if the win cons of their composition line up, that's maybe where they can find opportunities. But again, it really comes down to misplays from WE with this gold discrepancy.
As we saw there, I mean, Breathe, you know, he takes, but he should also give, apparently. OMG will be happy to take that one away, and it's still an 8k gold lead, but we see the potential here from OMG and how they can pick apart the pieces. Another note as well, watching Abel's damage in that fight, Divine Sunderer against Viego, Renekton, just have so much value here, the HP bruisers of WE. And so give them space, give them time. OMG will be happy to take another one. But for now, WE still grouping up, choking vision once again, rinse and repeating what worked for them. As Baron sits there holding, and Elk is poking away nevertheless. Dragon in 2, but OMG don't want to go near the Baron for now.
Yeah, and I like the setup, trying to get some poke from Elk before the fight. Give things an advantage.
Not a good equalizer.
Now.
Into the backline, New as well. Cold's in as well. This is an all-in. Able free firing. WE have moved into range of OMG, and now Breathe and Beishang are the only ones left. New getting himself some revenge on the top laner. He says, you must die for the sins you incurred on me in this game. Triple kill. OMG Baron Orcs out of left field.
They had a 10,000 gold deficit The comp from WE was just absolutely stomping, but they find these windows back in. It feels like the ults aren't really connecting well for WE. They aren't able to do anything to Able, and the scaling has started to kick in. This equalizer here initially looks like it could be a decent one, but OMG don't even sit on it for long. Able isn't really connected with, and they dive in cold, playing that sacrificial role. And you can see Able consistently firing off Mystic Shot after Mystic Shot on the backline here. And just in this mess, in this mass of members, you get so much value from champions like the Sylas, like the Gwen. The sustained fights are the ones that favor OMG, and they're able to deliver, pick up the Baron, and that 10k gold lead, only 4,000 now, and just in time for that Ocean Soul contest in 30 seconds. I
mean, now a contest that looks a little bit more even. It might be 4,000, but yeah, again, 9,000 gold. This feels like WE have just thrown it all away. I'll say that fighting in open territory against an Ezreal, against a Sylas, a Gwen, never the answer, and even missing here. Winter's bite out cold, thinking about an engage. New from the flanking angle. Everfrost is there. Creme uses the Glacial Fissure down. New's over the wall, and they're doing it again. Equalizer doesn't matter because New's in the front lines. Needlework's coming out. Cold will sacrifice his life. Creme, get off the blue buff and help. You need to get over the wall as Breathe is into the back line. OMG are losing members. Creme will circle around one more time as Breathe goes over. And boy, oh boy, this game 3 is a bit flustering.
I could hear the frustration when you saw Creme on the blue buff. I don't know what he's doing there. Obviously,
he had a full
interesting priorities, we'll say. But they do manage to win out the fight enough to secure this dragon here. New's looking, though.
Elk's in a bit of trouble here. Chains of Corruption not available yet, but New doesn't have the slow of Needlework. But Ocean Soul is denied, and while it is an even fight, OMG deny the objective that puts WE back in the driver's seat. So the game goes on. 31 minutes here with the Baron buff still available. It's Chains of Corruption for Chains of Corruption. Cute interaction, but Creme can do this. Onto Elk. Yep, it's a Sylas. Elk walking into a Sylas. That's not the way. Missing and Shank shouldn't be here either. A TP coming through. A double Everfrost. Glacial Fissure. WE, what are you doing? True Shot Barrage comes through, but Breathe is TP'd under the turret. You can dive this, equalize it down. What the hell are we watching?
The scaling's really kicked in, and these mid-game spikers from WE just aren't punching as much, particularly the Rumble. The equalizer's just been ignored at this point. OMG firmly in control, and they're comfortable to start these fights. It feels like these high-value skirmishers, the Ezreal, the Sylas, the Gwen, are just free to do as they please. Creme has a Medjay's, by the way, 17 stacks in pocket. I think I'd rather have that on my team than a 0-4 Renekton right now. And it feels like WE complete control in the early game, a composition that set them up for success. But we talked about they don't want this game to go for 30-40 minutes. They want to close it out quickly, and they really missed the bar on that one. The pace has started to fall apart, and it's only really the top laner Breathe who's super relevant right now, but he's falling behind. I mean, Creme is level 17, by the way. Able level 16. They've overtaken an XP, and the gold gap's only 1,000 now.
Yep, and New's relevant in a game that he should never have been relevant in after getting bullied out by Breathe. 6-3-9. He'd feel so good. It's like overcoming the schoolyard bully. He's now atomic wedgied his underwear over his head. So it feels really good if you're someone like this Gwen, if you're new in this game. And I mean, I don't know from WE. I don't know what this is. Like, another way to end the game quicker is by throwing, is by inting, but I'll hold on that and be a little bit kinder for now. WE grouping up in a brush. They want to pick. Breathe coming up behind them. But True Shot Barrage, thank you for the free vision. Missing may block it, but everyone's spotted out. And we don't have a Baron up for another 2 minutes. No Dragon for 2:45. The game will go on at a relatively even state.
And the thing is that at this point, the equalizer slow isn't enough. Everyone's a little bit too tanky. Everyone's a little bit too mobile. Kind of need to connect with the Chains of Corruption to start a fight, but OMG just, they feel so comfortable now. They don't really need to contest because the Baron isn't too fast. You know, earlier in the game when we saw WE hyper-fed, we were like, yeah, they can finish this quickly. But right now, it's only really Breathe who's putting up reasonable DPS numbers, and OMG can easily just move in as soon as they get a whiff of the Baron being started. So they're feeling super confident right now. Breathe still most gold in the game by a pretty, actually, sorry, not anymore. Abel's overtaken him, and Elk actually ahead, but you can see still a lot of gold on members of WE, still ahead overall, but OMG are winning these fights consistently at this point.
And we'll stop talking about gold soon, right? Because we are getting full items onto the AD carries, or getting close to. Another 10,000 gold, and it feels like that discussion is mute because we have a 4-item Ezreal, 4.5, which is massive. 3.5-item Gwen, who now just picked up Grievous Wounds. 17 stack Magi's with a 3-item Sylas, who has a Rabadons. I don't know if we've looked at good old Creme, but yeah, that's a lot of AP that they have to deal with. And I'm so glad you brought up the scaling here, because despite my frustration, my whatever we're watching, OMG's comp, they have played it better. I mean, WE may have thrown, but OMG have played the comp in the later half of this game so much better. And now securing vision once again in front of the Baron, WE have to walk in relatively blind as the purple worm spawns in 15 seconds.
Yeah, WE long past the point they wanted to hit that Nexus down and finish the series. They really need a miracle to win this one out now, and I feel like the stars need to align. And by the stars, I'm talking about their ultimates, to get a strong engage on this fight. You can see the poke from the Varus still very valuable. They are trying to set up this Baron once more, but OMG, we talked a lot about losing those tier 2s, the safe zones. They don't need safe zones anymore. They feel confident to push up and play a bit more aggressive.
They can play around their poke through the mid lane as well. We're 5v5 here. Chains of Corruption already used. Creme gets poked out though. He's in a bad position. The equalizer makes him flash over the wall. Not good from the mid laner of OMG, who have had so much praise for. W will take that summoner. They'll take Creme backing, and he might even have to burn the TP.
But WE need to be careful. They don't have two of the major teamfight ultimates here. When Creme TP's in, they go for a fight.
That's all in. True Shot Barrage lines through as well. The Glacial Prison stopped away by Abel. Look at him poking on the backside. The Ezreal having a great fight while Creme comes on back in through his TP. He's got a Heartbreaker stolen, and WE are getting burnt down. In the backline, doesn't matter, the new's gone because Abel's still full freaking HP. WE go home. It's time for us to pick up another dragon.
Abel is just completely untouched on this team, and typically for OMG, when Abel goes untouched, he's just able to clean up the fights. He's on fire right now, and WE, they get re-engaged on when they don't have the ultimates back up again. The Equalizer not available, and without those, there's just no way you're winning the fights in this situation. OMG managed to pick up the dragon. We went from a situation where WE were on sole point, and they've now equalized and are looking towards that Baron. WE desperately fanning out to try and contest this one.
And this has become a massive copium for WE fans. Oh, WE's going to win, don't worry. They'll find the fight. Because at this point, with Renekton down mid, 4 versus 5, Baron going to be taken. Beishang looking for the equalizer, but no, not this day. We're not looking at Kasa here, as teleport's going to be erupted. Aki and New trying to get out of there. Equalizer stolen away on Beishang, who goes golden. Breathe has joined the fight, but Cold shortly in behind. The Everfrost locks him down. The Heartbreaker out. Chains of Corruption doesn't hit, and the Needlework a little bit short. I'm not going to make a sexual tension joke once again, but I have to say, after the Baron, the date almost happened.
Was a close one, but I mean, OMG, why fight? If you don't need to, if you're not in the best position, you don't need to fight. This game, again, just feels on a knife's edge for WE, but OMG start to feel so confident. We see the fight re-engaging here again. No equalizer available. Elf instantly jumped on. Cold, follow him over the wall. Does end up actually going down here, but the AD carry is just not really a factor in this fight, though. As we look at Abel, Arcane shifts over the wall, flashes out again, baits in WE, and he's just playing so aggressive here, and yet full HP at the end of the fight, basically untouched.
He's he has great team fights, Abel. You know, we look at the flash, and you're right, they kind of baited them in. So I like that play, and I love aggressive AD carries in this region. Always gives you something to watch in the fights. And while Elk has been on more the aggressive path as well, those Chains of Corruption need to connect. They need to land, especially when OMG group around these tight places. Another tool that we talked about being down is really good for OMG. As Dragon's going to spawn in 3 minutes, folks. We have Ocean Soul for both teams now, and it looks like OMG are continuing to control the pace of this game. Elk going forward, Chains Corruption after the Prowler's Claw, and it's down again. No flash was burnt in response, so OMG will take that, and they'll keep pushing sides.
The thing is, I feel like even if you land the Chains of Corruption, you have... Oh, Seeing Breathe looking for that. I don't think you actually even win that one.
I mean, Xin Zhao has a Guardian Angel. He can buy for time, Breathe at half health almost. WE group to the bottom side. Look at mid. Middle inhibitor turret is getting pounded down by minions while OMG are walking forward. The equalizer does nothing on the minion wave, and New's able to frontline. Another turret drops down, and OMG continue their rampage. as Cole takes a bit of damage, but will it matter in the grand scheme of things? Because Abel's frontlining once again.
Yeah, they're landing more and more poke onto them.
Good change of corruption.
Abel just doing so much damage here.
Abel, Arcane shifting forward. Again, aggressive as hell. But the double cannon with Baron is pushing out. Abel has a frozen heart, so the poke from Elk is not going to mean as much to him. Again, look at it. It does hardly any damage, and Abel has sustenance, we'll call it. As OMG continue pushing forward. A couple of backs here and there. But Abel's just...
And it's just a one-man army right now. Abel's untouchable.
I mean, Frozen Heart on Ezreal doesn't care. Creme gets mid-turret as well. And WE have to back away. Abel's like, who cares? Breathe, come into me. There's the equalizer once more. Abel has to get out, though. He's not in the fight as Creme is hitting from an angle. But WE have them in a small space. But the stolen equalizer, the True Shot Barrage, the Glacial Fissure doesn't matter because OMG are still pressing. And Creme manages to get out before he gets scathed any further. Abel helps pick up the turret, or rather the inhibitor, and OMG have broken down WE's base.
And now they can reset. Super minions pushing in. Ocean Soul in a minute. And after they get that, I think OMG just... There's nothing you can do against them. They already win in the extended fight. And really, WE, if you hit them with the equalizer, it'll just tickle. And they'll heal up in no time at all. And the problem I'm seeing is, you know, we have the Chains of Corruption, but... New has Zhonya's. We have Creme with Zhonya's. We have Cold with Zhonya's. Yep. Aki has a GA. Ezreal, Abel typically has Cleanse and obviously Arcane Shift. It just feels like it's so hard to pin anyone down. And if you do, they just turn golden or can revive. And then the rest of the team just absolutely minces you. And right now, WE know if they give this dragon, the game's pretty much done. They're trying to contest this one out on the map, but I really struggle to see how they can win this one out. They need someone to make a mistake. Ideally, Abel, catch him with the chains, kill him quickly, Breathe can steal him, and then you have the Fed Ezreal on your team. That's what you're looking for.
That's what you hope for if you're WE and a WE fan who's still stuck in Copium land. Arky getting pinned down a little bit, but we're looking for the equalizer. We're looking for the Chains of Corruption here. They're poking down Cream's, guarding the mid-wave into its fruition, which is going to be towards the Nexus. And you see the equalizer finally come down on top of Arky. He is the jungler, but Abel's still full health. Again, the person you need to look for is the Arcane shift forward. Creme goes in. That Everfrost, beautiful! You coming in off the flank. The needlework is going to be great as well. Abel's still untouched. Creme into the thick of it as well. Look at Abel, man! Poking down Ezreal, as good as it gets here as OMG. That's going to be game.
Abel absolutely massive there, navigating the fight so well, moving around with repeated arcane shifts, dealing so much damage. And this was a 1-1 series. WE coming in with a 10k gold lead, and OMG are the ones to finish the Nexus and close it out.
You know, if you slack off, OMG are going to punish you. They continue their hit list here, Orcs, and OMG are going to be so happy they brought that game back from the brink of despair. That just goes to show you, it doesn't matter about a 10k gold lead at any range. It doesn't matter. Game's not over until the Nexus goes down, because someone could int, someone could throw, and you can also capitalize on some of those big advantages as well.
And you remember that moment when we saw Elk steal the red buff away from Aki? And I was like, that would tilt me so much. I think it kind of shows the mental fortitude. That was a tilting start to the game for OMG. They held strong, they played their win cons, they found the window, and they managed to find another series win against a solid team who were basically neck to neck against them. And, you know, I'm looking forwards. We obviously highlighted it earlier. EDG in their sights now.
Orcs, I just don't know what to say about that game. I just don't know. Like, after all's said and done, I want to praise the performance of OMG through their game wins. I want to praise Game 2, the draft we saw. Game 3 as a response was pretty wild with 43, 44 kills in a 43-minute game. I just don't know what you do as WE if you go back to the drawing board, because that game, that looked free. That was theirs to take. It was... But OMG held so strong. They held so cautiously and never gave an opportunity where OMG could just punish. They walk into a place of no vision. They lose Baron. They lose the game. That just never happened because OMG didn't give them anything on a platter.
It felt like OMG were really good at adapting, not just over the course of the series, but even over the course of a game. Whereas WE, you know, they could start strong, but it felt like the momentum kind of fell flat a little bit. And I think, you know, as much as it's a hard defeat to take, there is a lot of good things to say about WE in this series. You can't forget that it was a 2-1. Third game was very close. Some really strong jungling coming out from Beishang, and Breed, an absolute monster. There's a lot to look at and work on here. There's a reason these two teams were neck and neck going into this, and I think we shouldn't, completely discredit WE. But yeah, I think you have to ask yourself, how are you throwing that much of a goal lead? Why are you taking these sort of scenarios where you're fighting where you don't necessarily need to? And it just needs to be cleaner. And I think it comes in that game 2 as well, as sort of re-establishing your win conditions and not just letting the enemy team take a similar comp and tweaking. You have to kind of make sure that you're coming in with favorable setups for the game. But overall, I think both teams sort of gave a lot that series, and obviously OMG very deserving of that win, able to come back from such a deficit. And I think Abel, really, we highlighted Creme a lot, but Abel was just an absolute monster on the AD carries.
His team fighting, he honestly kind of showcases the time he spent under Uzi, spent on RNG. You and I were having that conversation in our warm-up, and it was amazing to see that, Abel brings out that game 3 where, sure, everything can be said about WE, everything can be said about how the game went, but Abel's still great team fighting, as we remember of someone as great as Uzi. Not that he's comparable, but there's still just that element of flair there, which is what I've always loved.
He's working on it.
About Abel. Yeah, definitely working on it. So we have, big questions for WE, and I like that you took the spin of the series and what WE actually achieved. I mean, game 1 was a great game to watch WE. Bar a couple of dives and some misplays, WE cleanly close out, find their advantage, and punish through the top lane as well. It just didn't happen this time around. The game wasn't closed out quick enough, and you could see Elk did so much damage, and that was through the laning phase that he recovered, through the mid game as well. But it didn't matter in the end when people like Creme able to sustain it up, and we pushed towards an Ocean Soul that would have been given over to OMG in the end.
And I think we kind of saw, even though it switched in the third game, throughout the series, we kind of saw like these polarizing team comps where one is like, okay, big ult agency, fight starts, we want to have already taken someone down, we want to be winning off the start of it. Whereas the other side have this more sustained damage, longer, higher value compositions, often with things like the Gwen, like the Sylas, the Ezreal as well. And it's interesting to see how that sort of evolved of the series. Obviously, the execution was there in that game 2 and that game 3 for the more ult impact composition. But, as much as it was there in game 3, it did start to fall off towards the end. And that's when the sustained composition really came with value. And I just love seeing how those win conditions line up and how they match up against each other and how the teams execute.
And how teams can play around, making those small adaptations, those small changes that were talked a lot about in game number 2. I think that's what makes a great team, where they can sit back, go to the drawing board and say, well, maybe it wasn't about the comp, maybe it was about how we changed it up. So I enjoyed that, Aux. I enjoyed casting with you for the first time. We got an absolute banger, as we said it would be a banger, but the day doesn't end there, folks. We're going to step off the casting desk, and I believe it's Munchables and Lyric coming back up for you next. RA vs LNG, FPXIG. The day continues here at the LPL.